Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel where skincare is all about progression over perfection because perfection doesn't exist. I think one important thing about being a skincare reviewer or a reviewer of anything really is to sometimes put your personal opinions aside and be able to see that whilst you may not enjoy something, you can see how it will benefit other people. And I think especially in something as personal as skincare and your body in general, I think it's important to do that with skincare. So today I want to share some skincare products, brands, etc. that I really do not like, but I would still recommend to other people. And of course, we have to start with CeraVe. Trigger warning for everyone who loves CeraVe. I always try to explain that CeraVe is great. It's great. I personally just don't enjoy it. I do not enjoy it. You are speaking to someone, me, who has built a career, who has chosen a job, which is literally reviewing skincare because I find it fun. I look for joy in skincare. It's my life. So for me to use CeraVe, which feels like a base formulation that can be built upon, very joyless, very basic. You can't expect me to love that product, right? I find their products joyless. I find their formulations almost too clinical and honestly a little bit old-fashioned feeling for me, almost like medicated paste. And this always triggers people when I say this. The replies are always like, well, it does the job it needs to do. My skin loves it. Dermatologists recommend it. Great. That's all great. Great for you. Very happy for you. Very happy for your skin if that's what works for you. Personally, for me, I want all that, all the above, in a formulation that I can enjoy whilst doing my skincare routine. And that's because my time doing skincare is therapeutic for me. If you don't want that, if you simply do your skincare because you want to see improvements in your skin, then CeraVe is great. And I'll always recommend it for people who, like I say, aren't looking for skincare to be a huge part of their day. They just want to get some shit on their face and move on and go to bed. And I will always recommend it for people who have more easily sensitized skin. Tell you what, let me just play my own TikTok where I explain this. I've discovered there are two huge triggers for those who aren't massively into skincare on this app. And that is one, saying you don't like CeraVe, and two, saying you don't like joyless skincare products, and three, saying you need to rinse off my cellar water, but I'll complain about that another day. And when I mention that I want skincare that brings me joy, a skincare routine that brings me joy, it really triggers people. And they say, I don't care about joyful skincare, I just want skincare that works. And that is, of course, a completely fair statement, but you can have joyful skincare that works. I don't get the connection that they can't be connected. But I'll tell you why I look for joy in my skincare routine, why I want a sensorial experience, why I look for nice packaging, brands with themes and stories. As a millennial, I grew up using skincare that kind of worked, essentially, technically, but didn't take into account the many different skin types and skin concerns. The options I had as a teenager with acne who was very, very oily was dry your skin the fuck out, then scrub it until you are red raw, and then don't use a moisturizer, just put tea tree on your face instead. Doing skincare back in the early 2000s, the early noughties, was not fun. It was not joyful. It felt like a chore I had to do to fix something that was wrong with me. It was never a self-care moment like a lot of people see it as today. It wasn't popular. It actually felt kind of shameful to go into a drugstore, Boots, a pharmacy, and pick out an anti-acne products, as they were called, and buy a cleanser and an astringent toner that I knew wasn't going to work, wasn't going to do the job. And with the sheer amount of skincare options we have now, the advances in science, the advances in the understanding of different skincare concerns, conditions, types, cosmetic chemistry, understanding what skin really needs. My personal preference is to turn something that I used to absolutely hate and dread into, first of all, my job, but also a self-care moment. That makes me feel like I'm doing something good for my skin and good for my well-being rather than trying to fix an issue or fix something that is wrong with me. People saying that they just want something that works, they don't care about the packaging or the joy, is completely fine, is absolutely valid. There's no need to get triggered by it. But I will never understand the idea that good, effective skincare that just works can't come in amazing looking packaging and elegant formulations that actually feel nice to use. Like, why do you think these brands spend so much on packaging? It's because the majority of people like their skincare to look a certain way. If you just want skincare that just works, you are in the minority, which is absolutely fine. It's 2024, not 2004. We could have skincare that just works and looks great and feels great too. One thing I noticed as well, it's also not as affordable and easily accessible as it used to be, as it once was. Over the past few years, CeraVe has implemented quite a few price increases across their whole range. In March of 2023, a Target employee actually highlighted a huge price hike, mentioning that certain items have nearly doubled in price. For example, a 3-ounce face moisturizer with SPF 30 increased from $14.99 to $24.49. And another moisturizer of theirs went from $13.99 to $22.49. And obviously these price differences are part of like a broader kind of like industry thing where prices have to be raised due to increased production and shipping costs, etc. But they're also now owned by a huge conglomerate who can, in all reality, afford to keep these prices down. So I feel like a lot of people have this idea that they're still basic, affordable skincare at a drugstore price level when really they kind of aren't. But as I mentioned, I do recommend it. If you don't have the time, you don't have the urge to experiment with skincare, you want good basic formulations that just do the job they're going to do without any bells or whistles, and you can afford just above drugstore prices. Speaking of drugstore, Neutrogena. Neutrogena is one of those brands that I'm like, it's not for me, but I get why people like it and I get why people use it. For me, but this is a very personal opinion and it's not scientifically accurate, but I find them outdated. For me, Neutrogena was one of the only skincare brands available in my drugstore, in Boots, in the pharmacy, we call it here, when I was a teenager. And at the time, not nowadays, but at the time, they were just like any other teenage drugstore brand. Their products were stripping, they were harsh on the skin, like Clean and Clear, you know, to me, they were no different. So I still have this bad connotation with them as well. But even now, there are definitely product lines of theirs that I personally avoid. I think the grapefruit range, for example, I've seen a lot of people have reactions to. It, again, feels very outdated to have grapefruit in a skincare product. Citrus ingredient range as well. I just can't be doing that in 2024 going into 2025. It's just extremely outdated and honestly very, very harsh for most people's skin. But here's why I'd still recommend it. Despite having those pretty outdated skincare lines and skincare products, I think we can't deny the popularity of a lot of their products, including their Hydro Boost range. Now, the Hydro Boost range obviously really focuses on hydration, really kind of like focusing in on the use of hyaluronic acid, which you can make amazing products out of and on a really cheap level. You can't really go wrong with hyaluronic acid. It's cheap, it's affordable. You don't need to pay a ton for good hyaluronic acid hydrating products. Most of these formulas are lightweight, non-greasy. They absorb quickly into the skin, but they're still thick enough and nourishing and moisturizing enough for various skin types. So it's not like in the olden days Neutrogena where you have like a gel cream, it just sinks into the skin and then your skin's tight all day. So yeah, really great for all skin types. A lot of dermatologists recommend this as probably the next brand after CeraVe if you're looking for something that is easy, accessible and affordable. I personally don't like the feeling of a lot of their moisturizers. I find them to be very tacky. They leave a film. But if you're looking for good hydrating everyday use products at a really affordable price, and Neutrogena is an amazing brand to go for. They is toner. This is my opinion, but I feel like if it wasn't for their marketing on TikTok, they wouldn't be that popular. I've not tried a lot of their other skincare products, but it's their toners that I think they're most well known for. Theirs dates back like decades. Like they're one of the original astringents that have evolved into the toners they are today, but they still keep a lot of the ethos behind their original formulations. There is nothing special about these toners. I will be honest, there's nothing special about these toners. The hydrating one with like the mushroom is nice. I don't like it. It always foams up on my skin. I say they are affordable, like easy accessible. They're on TikTok Shop, they're on Amazon, but there are still other good toners at the same kind of price point that I feel are much better. They're not bad. They're not bad. They are extremely basic. So the reason I don't use them is maybe that they are a bit too basic when I have amazing toners at the same price point that just go beyond a little bit further than basic. Also, as I mentioned, their mushroom one foams up on my skin. No matter what I use it in conjunction with, on dry skin, damp skin, it just constantly foams up. It's unusable for me. That being said, I did use it. I took it away with me for about a week and I used it for that week, and my skin was very well hydrated. I just had to put extra time into using a toner, which I don't expect to do and shouldn't have to do. And this is why I will still recommend Thayers to people who ask about it. They're fine. If you are just looking for a toner that's going to hydrate your skin at a very basic level, which is essentially what toners are supposed to do, they're great. They are a great option at a very affordable price. They remind me of what drugstore products are supposed to be, price point wise as well, and the kind of brands you see in a drugstore. But for me, they're just a bit... It's just like, I think it's the same kind of CeraVe thing, right? I want more. As a skincare reviewer, I want more. But if you are somebody who just wants to add some extra hydration to your skincare routine, give them a go. The Ordinary. I feel like everybody has a love-hate relationship with The Ordinary. This by far isn't about all their products, but this is about the majority of their products. I feel like, before I go into this next bit, they have kind of changed up their game a little bit, in the sense that their game plan, I should say, in the sense that they are now offering products that are kind of suitable for all skin types and more about recovery. Whereas I feel like the majority of their skincare library is about treatments for the skin that aren't necessarily for everyone. The Ordinary introduced us all to a whole new world of skincare, a whole new world of ingredients, but also fucked up the majority of our skin, let's be honest. The Ordinary is a great price point for decent products, but I really don't think they are for skincare beginners, because it is a confusing world that can lead to more irritation, damaged skin, and people just not knowing what they're doing, thinking that they need everything that The Ordinary has to offer. And thinking about it now, we look back on The Ordinary like, great, single ingredient products at like a really good price point. But now I look back at it now and I'm like, oh, single ingredient products. I'm like, why do we need that? Why did we ever need that? Just to add so many steps and so much hassle and so much clutter into our skincare routine. What seemed like a very good concept to begin with, for me now just seems like a nightmare, an absolute minefield of a skincare routine. Like, they have their brightening products like niacinamide, alpha-arbutin, tranexamic acid, I don't know, for example, all in these separate pipettes, when now we just can buy serums, and we always have been able to buy serums that just combine it all, that we can just slot into our routine, rather than having to use all these things on different days along with other things and trying to calculate what to use and when. It's too confusing. It was a great money-making idea, great concept. I feel like we all have a better understanding now of ingredients, but now I look back, it's just not, what's the word? It's just not a good way to go about your skincare routine, in my opinion. But why would I recommend them? I don't. I would still recommend them for a few reasons. Number one being ingredient transparency and simplicity. They are known for demystifying skincare, clearly listing active ingredients and the concentration on product labels. So if there is one particular skincare concern you have, and there is that one serum that you know is gonna improve that skin concern for you, then absolutely go for it. However, if you have a couple of concerns, you're using a few different ingredients in the evening and the afternoon, and the morning, it's not one to just find yourself an all-in-one serum that does a handful of different things, right? But if you don't want an extensive skincare routine, you have that one skincare concern, you're going to cleanse, use a serum, moisturize, and a sunscreen, absolutely go for it. And of course, their pricing, they're so affordable. They're affordable, they're effective, they are everywhere, so they're easily accessible. I don't know, but then so are the Inky List, and they do better alternatives, in my opinion, well-rounded ingredient formulations. Product formulations, sorry. I've just had them on display there because they're white. I've definitely fallen out in love with The Ordinary, and I think a lot of other people have. But as I mentioned, they do good products if you are looking for simplicity. I just want to talk about Audi Dupes. I think you have Audi in America, I don't know. But here they are known for doing these almost like M&Co level dupes where they look exactly like other brands. But here's why I don't like it. It's a little bit to do with duping culture. I think dupes have their place in the world. I think they're great for people who can't get particular products that the brand are trying to dupe. You get the experience sort of things that would otherwise be out of reach for yourself. But there's a very particular issue with Audi Dupes. Why I don't recommend them is because the products they're duping are actually nothing like the original products they're trying to dupe. They're just copying the packaging. And that's the thing. People are like, oh, it's got the exact same ingredients in. It probably doesn't. I think the Glow Recipe products, for example, are a perfect kind of like example of this. They've just literally copied the packaging. The products aren't even meant to be what they're duping. So you aren't getting dupes. You're just getting half decent products in packaging that you're probably paying more money for the packaging because they're trying to dupe a more expensive brand. And I just think if you want affordable skincare, you can get affordable skincare that isn't trying to be something else and probably has better formulations and access to better ingredients. I just find Audi Dupes in particular to be very performative. Like they're just trying to remind you of a brand to get you to buy that product rather than actually duping the brand, like being an affordable version of the brand that is often expensive and being duped, if that makes sense. I don't know. Let me know if you have experience with Audi Dupes in the comments down below. You've got some more product reviews here, some general light entertainment here, and I'll see you next time.